Men use so much war terminology around, um, you know, around startups and business in general, and women don't tend to go to battle in startups, right? We cooperate with industry, with companies who might even be considered competitors. I think that we have a bigger understanding of and compassion probably for other women in the team because they're battling parts of their lives that men don't even experience.
Welcome to WITT. Hi, I'm Megan. I talk with founders, investors, and operators working in tech. My aim is to inspire you with their stories and perspectives. Through this podcast, I want to amplify the voice of women working in tech. If you want to support WITT, then make sure you follow us on your favourite podcasting app. Then you won't miss any future episodes. Today's guest is Claudia, founder of Swijin, a sportswear brand on a mission to reinvent the sports bra through science, sustainability, and serious design. Let's get into it. Hi, Claudia. Welcome to WITT. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for the invitation, Megan.
Awesome. Well, I would love to kick off our conversation with the lightning round.
I'm ready.
Awesome. First question, what's one lesson from teaching that helps you as a founder?
Okay. I think it's working with a group, bringing together the energy of the group, and then getting people to actually do their homework.
Love it. And then second question, what's harder, pitching investors or teaching teenagers?
Teaching teenagers will give you everything you need to face the difficulty of pitching investors.
Awesome. And then third question, circularity in 3 words.
An absolute must for the future.
Love it. Fourth question, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Very early bird.
Oh, okay. And then number 5, finish the sentence. Female founders need more
Financing to adjust valuations.
An FFF. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, who inspires you outside of the startup world?
That's really tricky. I'm always looking at the startup world. So many. I think the athletes, actually. The athletes I get to work with. And tremendous.
That makes sense. Okay, number 7. In one word, how do you want women to feel when they wear your brand?
Empowered.
Love it. Number 8. Are you a pizza or a burger person?
Depends. That totally depends on where country I'm in, Megan.
Fair.
So it would be like a burger maybe in New York City and a pizza in Milan.
Love it. They're country orientated. Okay, I like that. Question number 9. What legacy do you hope your company leaves behind?
That we take women seriously and we thoughtfully create products that empower them to be the best athletes they can be.
And then last question for the lightning round. If you had to describe your entrepreneurial journey in 3 emojis, what would they be and why?
A cartwheel.
Okay.
The cartwheel, I use it all the time, probably because it's so much fun at times.
Fair.
Then the kind with the head blowing off.
Okay. Interesting choice.
Right? Because there's so many unexpected things that happen that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And the third one would definitely be the hands of gratitude because of the tremendous amount of help that's been flooding to me to make this happen.
Love that. Well, that was really awesome. Thank you for answering my lightning round questions. And let's now move on to your journey, right? So your transition from a high school English teacher to a founder of a cutting-edge sports tech company is just fascinating. Can you walk us through that journey and share what motivated you to take such a bold leap into entrepreneurship?
Sure. It was a wonderful career that I had as a high school English teacher, and I would maintain that being a startup founder is incredibly difficult. It's lots of work. It's very little free time, and those who are high school English teachers probably would describe their jobs precisely as that as well. It's tough work.
Yeah.
And I was personally always interested in starting a company, but
Right.
was, my mother was a high school librarian, so in education, and my father was more entrepreneurial. And so I really found that I embodied both of those passions. And after having taught decades of high school English, I felt the calling or urge to start a company was getting stronger and stronger. And one day on my drive home from school, there was just sort of a moment where I felt like it was told to me, okay, you got to move now. It's now.
Yeah.
And so I started to noodle on the idea at that time. And yeah, shortly thereafter, I was on vacation. I was running in my regular sports bra down to the ocean in the
Mm-hmm.
mornings, and I wanted to combine my run with a swim. So our original idea was really this hybrid sports bra that it would allow you to um, go and swim in the water
Ah,
at the
okay.
same, without changing
Yeah,
clothes.
yeah.
And so when I came back off that vacation, I sort of had that idea in my head, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when I started to do some research. And it
Oh,
sort of started with
interesting.
that.
Yeah, so it started with that kind of idea and now it's morphed into
A general sports bra.
yeah.
Though interestingly, to this day, you can swim in all of our sports bras still. So,
That's always
mhm.
helpful. That's always helpful. Well, I would really love to talk a little bit more in detail about a sportswear and especially for women, right? So often the sportswear industry lacks the blend of performance, comfort, and inclusivity. How do you approach addressing these challenges in design, and what feedback has your community, given to product development?
Okay, so we've been developing our products from day one alongside professional
Hmm.
athletes. So we
Right.
had athletes across different sports and different body sizes, and breast cup sizes. So we've
Hmm.
been bringing all of that feedback into the innovation every step of the way, alongside of our industry partners and alongside of the sports physiologists who are working to in theory explain to you how to build this thing. So
Yeah.
I feel like because we had such a broad group of co-creators working alongside with us, it was always going to have to be inclusive because we had to solve
Hmm.
every athlete's problems.
Yeah.
I will say that it's easier to build a sports bra for smaller breast sizes, for smaller cup sizes, and that's where we started. And then the next generation came, which was helpful for, more bigger cup sizes. And
Hmm.
now we're in the final stages of the innovation of the most difficult bra yet, which really, you take the learnings from the first bra to the second bra,
Right.
and now we have the third one. And that's
Yeah. And
supposed
it,
to come to
yeah.
market this year. We're feverishly working
Awesome.
on solving the problems for athletes with bigger cup sizes.
Yeah. So you're taking what you learned from the first kind of iterations and then kind of bringing it through. Ah, interesting. Yeah, that's really cool. You mentioned a little bit about the kind of the inventory, right, and the sizing and the logistical kind of headaches that come with that, right? So, how do you approach managing size
Right.
and kind of inventory risks?
So we started very conservatively and small, and our first production runs were very, very small production runs by industry standards,
Hmm.
right? So
Right.
we took the learnings from, for example, how many extra smalls or how many extra larges are you selling in these products? And
Yeah.
then the next time you go into production, you obviously know how to adjust those numbers accordingly. That kind of
Right.
feedback
Yeah.
helps. But, I think if you grow too quickly, you can make very expensive mistakes. And it's so important to
Hmm.
have limited funds to work with at the beginning in a way, even if it's really frustrating and hard, because it limits the size of the mistake that you can make.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, starting a business as a whole is never without setbacks, right? So can you share some kind of significant challenges or failures you faced with your company so far and how you kind of overcame them?
Yeah, I mean, one of them was probably the first one that I felt was really difficult was just heartbreaking because so many people were involved in a design thinking workshop at the
Hmm.
Swiss Federal Laboratories. We invited a number of experts from the industry across the textile industry, like really from raw materials down to finishings to
Yeah.
engineers. And we led them through a 2-day design thinking workshop. And both of the teams ended up presenting the same solution and the same combination of yarns. And so we were
Okay.
inventing an entirely new fabric.
Mhm.
In order to have that work, we were warp knitting it, which is a special kind of knitting structure in Italy. And
Okay.
in order for that to work, we needed to get the yarn manufacturers to provide their yarns, and then they had to be put on what are called beams, and those had to be sent down to Italy. Those need special trucks to mount them. They're
Wow.
extremely heavy. It takes a lot of time, and it's
Yeah.
expensive. So, whereas circular knitting allows you greater experimentation at lower cost, warp knitting is a
Mhm.
different animal altogether. Even the manufacturer of the machines themselves were involved in the project. So, it was a pretty big deal, and there was a lot of energy
Yeah.
mounting up to seeing what would happen. And unfortunately, the textile did not perform as we had hoped, and
Mm.
it was impossible. So, we were sort of back to square one, but it
Mhm.
was really almost a year and a half to 2 years of work that went into that.
Yeah.
I remember where I stood when I got the news, and it was a real hit in the stomach, but, 2 days later, we got a phone call from the Swiss Federal Laboratories, and we found a new yarn that actually, works so beautifully now and that we're using in our product. So even in the fear of, massive failures like that, there is always maybe a miracle, like, or something else that you discover literally 2 days later. Um, we have also been working with a new kind of technology because our bras cannot chafe. So, chafing injuries are a huge problem for women in their sports
Right.
bras,
Right.
and they're often caused by the seams that are sewn with sewing machines. So, we
Yeah, that
eliminated the
makes
sewing
sense.
machine. But in order to do that, you have to work with what is a water-based paste that is an ultrasonic welding. So you weld two fabric layers
Oh,
together, and
okay.
then you paste them, and they have to
So
stick.
instead of the kind of the sewing, it's
Hmm.
just being kind of melted together? Is
Yeah,
that what you're saying?
that's
Oh,
actually
okay.
what exactly. So
Ah,
you're describing it well because when you ultrasonically weld, they get so hot that they actually melt together. But of course,
yeah.
this is a very thin fabric that's only melted, which you could
Right.
easily rip. That goes on your skin. There's a smooth surface. But on the opposite side, to reinforce that, you
Mhm.
have to bond that down. You have to bond the seams up, right? And so when you're working with new textiles, it can easily come undone. That's the
Right.
horror of bonding. It's really tricky.
Okay.
And so, um, you know, when you receive products, you don't always know, did the this water-based paste actually melt
Mhm.
between the fabric voids enough so that it's really going to be strong on holding?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's always been sort of this,
Mhm.
challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds just so complicated, honestly. It sounds so complicated. And then you're taking into the fact of kind of sustainability and circularity. And those are some like huge, huge themes for many like brands. And I want to understand a little bit more. You talked about this with the material and the manufacturing, but how do you incorporate these values in the overall business model? And what is the journey of sustainability and circularity?
Right. So in the very early days, where
Hmm.
I was still learning and not even really started on the journey yet, I
Yeah.
attended the International Sports ISPO in Munich. It's the biggest sports expo in the world.
Right.
And a speaker there was talking about sustainability practices in the sportswear industry specifically.
Yeah.
He, Dr. Mateusz Wielopolski, and I touched, base and became sort of friends. And then he eventually became a Swijin advisor and sort of guided us along in the process because the textile industry produces in great amounts of greenhouse gases and waste.
Yeah.
We were really interested in what can we do to not just downcycle products but
Hmm.
actually r- make them truly a circular product, means that you win
Right.
back the product and you're able to recycle it in such a way that you have virgin quality resources left that you can reintroduce to the supply chain at that same level.
Hmm.
But textiles have to be, the yarns have to be very clean. They can't have any other kinds of, because then the textile doesn't perform the same way, and the yarn won't
Right.
perform the same way. So everybody in the industry is working on a circularity concept. It's being done in many startups as well, some of them very successful already, but we use a polyamide, which is different from polyester. So we needed
Okay.
specifically somebody who was able to help us with that. And then there's different
Okay.
types of polyamide. There's six,
Of course
six,
there is.
six, etc. So now
Yeah.
that limits who you can work with. But we have two different types of yarns. We have a
Mhm.
bio-based polyamide that comes from the castor bean, which is right here. And it
Okay.
grows in the western parts of India in the state
Okay.
of Gujarat. And I was there on the plantations. I got to meet the farmers. I got to
Wow.
see it all. And when you extract the oil, you can polymerize it and then spin it into yarns. And
Ah,
so this is sort of magic for us because it's extremely hydrophobic, meaning no water uptake whatsoever. It's very
right.
lightweight and it's like silk on the skin. So
Awesome.
it's perfect for the solution we needed. Um, and for example, with this product, we're combining it with a biodegradable elastomer. And so the next project we're embarking on now is to take, for example, pre-consumer waste, which are factory cutoffs, and then
Okay.
take them back to be recycled into virgin quality monomers. And that this can also be done with fossil fuel produced yarns. So
Mhm.
we're working with two industry partners right now to make that dream a reality. Everyone's sort of at the beginning and it's not perfected yet, but I mean, that's science and it's developing and it needs to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that sounds just so amazing. I feel like you're so far ahead from everybody else basically.
Thank you.
But yeah, no. That's really interesting to hear the kind of the backstory and what goes into it, and sharing that story with your customers. I hope that you do as well, because that is just so inspiring to see what the process is to make something like this. Yeah, awesome. Well, that was really cool, but I'd love to dig into your frameworks now. So you gave me a lot of frameworks, so let's go through a few of them. I would really like to start with staying stubborn on your path. So what does that mean for you?
I guess really is hard when you enter an industry
Mm-hmm.
and a profession that you've never had anything to do with in your life, right?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
So at the very beginning, I was traveling a lot in Europe in the car because I was visiting
Mm-hmm.
different industry partners and learning and learning and learning.
Yeah, yeah,
And so not only did I learn a lot from them, but I learned a lot listening to lots of audibles and podcasts.
yeah.
And I think, every single founder always says, you've got to listen to your gut. You've got to listen to your gut.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so some of the beauty, I guess, of coming into an industry sort of outside is that you can question things that don't seem to make sense.
Right.
Whereas if you've
Yeah.
been working in it, you don't see that anymore.
You don't question the kind of
This
norms.
that's right.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still working on it because I think I love working with advisors and they've been
Mhm.
instrumental in building this company. And then there's times where you have to sort of push against what norms are because
Yeah.
otherwise you miss your ability to like differentiate yourself.
Yeah. And you miss the kind of the opportunities, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, the next framework I want to go into is the first time you face a battle, it will be brutal.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Spell it out for us.
Okay. So there's many times where you're going to be confronted with things as a startup that
Mhm.
are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And in order, the first time something like that happens, because you've never fought that battle, right? It's going to be tremendously difficult. Like maybe
Yeah.
you've been working with somebody for a while in the startup and suddenly they decide to go a different way and leave you, right? It really pulls the carpet out from under you and it kind of puts you in a whirlwind situation for a while. And then you have to not only process that and with great understanding because things in life happen, right, that are unforeseeable that you cannot control.
Yeah.
And so this like absorbing that kind of a massive impact on the business
Mhm.
can feel extremely scary. The next time, of course, it still hurts, but it's like, oh, it didn't actually do anything tremendously horrible to us. so far. There's there's many other people in, who are interested in working, and oftentimes people are perfect for the time that they're with you, and then they might move on to other
Yeah.
things. And this isn't necessarily people who even leave. Like, so at the very beginning, I was working closely with one advisor in particular because
Hmm.
we were really working on the textile level and yarn level of this product.
Yeah.
And then I moved to another advisor who was more specialized in the construction of the bra itself and working with industry partners who manufacture.
Hmm.
So there's just a natural progression, just like in your advisors with the people who join your
Yeah.
team.
Definitely. Yeah, I like the sense of having a startup is like a battle. I like this. I like
I
this
don't know
kind
if
of
it's, I don't
concept.
like that, Megan. I don't think it's, I think we shouldn't call it that because it's, men use so much war terminology around, um, you know, around startups and business in general, and women don't tend to go to battle in startups, right? We cooperate with industry, with companies who might even be considered competitors. I think that we have a bigger understanding of and compassion probably for other women in the team because they're battling parts of their lives that men don't even experience,
Hmm.
from pregnancy journeys to menopause, right? To childcare at home. And so I don't know. I just feel like the fact that we are so empathetic as women, it's like, I don't know, I don't have the energy to fight battles. I think that I'd rather just like we come up with a new book of vocabulary that isn't
Okay.
quite so
Yeah,
scary,
I'm just
like
trying to, while you're
runway and
talking, I'm trying to
cliffs
think
and
of something.
exploding term sheets. There's so many of these words. I'm like, only men would coin this. This is ridiculous. It's scary.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll try and come up with some sort of vocabulary for it. But yeah, no, I really loved your take on this. And we're gonna now move into a part of the podcast which I like to call the zigzag zone. So I want to know where you're zagging and everyone else is zigging. So you talked a little bit about stop listening to the noise. Let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, I think when you're at the beginning of a journey where you're really just in, and I was in this phase for a really long time where I
Right.
just needed to download so much information from every angle of what it meant to be a founder, to build a
Right. Yeah,
business,
yeah, yeah.
production, the scientific, like
Mhm.
textile
Mhm.
manufacturing, the
Yeah.
textile industry. So I think at some point you reach sort of a place where you're like, okay, that's enough now. And what I'm noticing within me is that I read LinkedIn differently now than I used to maybe three
Okay.
years ago. So, you know how this is, Megan. You've been on LinkedIn, right? And you read
Mhm.
one post by somebody who's an industry, I don't know, guru in their field.
Right.
And then right next is another industry guru who says the opposite, like with the
Mm.
same
Oh yeah.
conviction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And had they not been next to one another, you wouldn't realize this
You
is
wouldn't know.
ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
I'm starting to distance myself a little bit from some of the insights that people were giving, whereas before I really looked into that deeply and considered it thoughtfully and spent a
Right.
lot of time thinking about it. Now I'm quicker to, I mean, I suppose, listen and strengthen my own inner voice on this.
Mm. Okay, interesting. I
That's
I like that kind of ideology. I think that's very interesting. Looking at LinkedIn differently. Very funny. But
That's the
yeah, let's
noise, right? That's the noise
the
element.
noise,
There's a
right?
lot of
Yes, of
noise.
course, of course. Yeah. Well, now it is story time. So this was a really surprising story, but I want to know what happened with having 100 pen pals. First of all, how on earth did you get 100 pen pals? Like that is a lot. Yeah, so how did that happen? Tell us about this wonderful story.
I mean, if you really think about it, right? Like all of the young girls now or teenagers now are following each other on Instagram and sharing really
Mhm.
what appears to be what we might have shared in a diary or a pen pal letter, right? Only we only didn't
Right.
have video capabilities. And so we had
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
write it by hand. I suppose it was the same interest in connecting with other women around the world or either girls at the time. Of course I was a child, but to connect with others and see what their experiences were
Mhm.
in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
I do not remember where I got these. I believe there were some magazines that I was buying at the
Okay.
time, And there might have been addresses of women or girls who are also looking for pen pals, so probably publish their home addresses in there, which would never happen today.
Yeah. I was just listening. I was like, what? But
I had shoe
yeah.
boxes full of these letters in my closet,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't bear to throw them away. At some point, I went to university, and my mom's like, "I got it. Like, really? This is like your entire wall in your
Room.
bedroom is filled with shoe boxes full of letters." And so we finally did get rid of them.
Yeah, no, that's such a cool story, such
Thank
a
you.
crazy story, and that I really love that. Well, we're now coming sadly to the end of the podcast, but I do have three final questions for you. So imagine it's 2035, so in 10 years' time. What does your life look like? What does your company look
Okay. I would like to have definitely a established brand
like? Mm-hmm.
that's highly respected and continues to uphold its values in terms of deep research into every single item we bring to market,
Mm-hmm.
continuing to co-create, but also to have a legacy of having really supported specifically women in sports, because we know that only 6% of R&D funding right now by the legacy brands goes to women.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see that make a change for them to feel more free, empowered, and comfortable in the clothes, and to feel kind
Mm-hmm.
of like part of a movement, if you will. I mean,
Love
we know
it.
women's sports is really booming right now, and to be part of that and see that growth from now till then makes me really excited, because there's so many more ideas that
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
like to
yeah,
see
of course.
realized. And also for anyone who works in the company, that's always been really important to me, that those people kind of also realize their own purpose to some extent in
Mm-hmm.
the time that they're with Swijin, you know? So if they're coming into a company, that the team culture is something that's really important to me. I would like to have people feel listened to and valued and part of a exciting movement,
Yeah.
and to have a really healthy working environment where people flourish.
Awesome. Yeah, all good things to wish for, I would
I know.
say. And then second question, how can listeners follow along with your journey and also your company's journey as well?
Yes. So Swijin.com, Swijin, it's right above me,
Above you? Yep.
.com. Definitely sign up to our email program. So there goes our pen pal. You'll get a letters from me and updates on our
Lovely.
products. We're also active on Instagram under Swijin Official. And we're going to build out a nice community program pretty soon with exciting ideas coming down the pipeline. So I'm really excited to publish
Awesome.
those. But probably to be on our email list is the number one best place to be, because you get sort of insider information that we might not publicize other places. I'm also
Love
active
it.
on LinkedIn. So please follow me on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Awesome. And then last question, how can listeners be useful to you? So what can they do to help you?
Yes. Thank you so much, Megan. In fact, probably to think about your athlete friends and
Mm-hmm.
let them know that this company exists. And if they're looking for a bra, to come to our website. We're sold out of our first drop, and we've had really exciting positive feedback. So our next drop is hitting the shelves in mid-July. And so
Lovely.
they can already pre-order their bras, and we've come out with new colors now. So please spread the word
Awesome.
and know
Yeah.
that we're supporting female athletes with our profits.
Well, that is lovely. Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I'm really looking forward to following along with your
And Megan,
journey and
thank
of
you
course your
for
growth.
having me, and also for interviewing women in tech in particular. It's a
Awesome.
real
Well,
honor.
thank
Thank
you.
you for a lovely conversation.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. To make sure you don't miss next week's episode, follow us on your favorite podcasting app. Do consider leaving us a review, as it helps the podcast tremendously.